1 year ago today, I almost died. I was rushed to the hospital, and I won't go into detail, but I had to get a CAT scan and was hospitalized and then put into inpatient for 3 weeks. Being in the psych ward of the hospital is nothing like the movies. There is a lot of beautiful souls there. And as you get over the initial shock and you start to meet these people around you that have also recently lost hope, there's this beautiful connection that you feel. And you want to cheer these people on, and you feel them cheering you on. And you watch a lot of movies, you do a lot of therapy, you do a lot of groups, and you start to find that hope again, and that's precious. Today is the Transgender Day of Awareness, where we remember all the people that have died from acts of violence. We remember all the people that have died from acts of violence towards trans people because of the heavy anti-trans that there is. There's a lot. I'm not going to look up the statistics. My name isn't Debbie, but there's a lot of people that die every year because of anti-trans violence, and we're just here trying to exist. I actually grew up anti-trans. I grew up thinking that trans people were the worst and secretly believing that I was the worst, and that if people really knew who I was, if they really knew who I was and that they knew that I was trans, that they would abandon me. And I absolutely refused to do anything that could have been considered gender affirming care. I ended up having an attempt in 2016, and then years later when I got married I had one, and then I went to full-time therapy, so 30 hours a week of therapy. And I did that to the point where I had 800 hours of therapy. And at any point during that, I never considered transitioning. And even after that 800 hours, a year ago today, ended up in the hospital because the pain of gender dysphoria is so intense. And I almost lost my life because I was anti-trans and I wasn't willing to try the one therapy that has been invented that shows positive results. If there were more therapies invented, that would be super cool. I don't care if you're anti-transition, but you need to at least point to a therapy that works, because conversion therapy is irrefutably proven to not work. And in that hospital, immediately, I felt like I had an ancestor tell me that it was time to transition. I was not on board with this. I was anti-trans. I did not like trans people, or at least I was still learning to love them. I, in middle school, had a friend that transitioned, and I am sad to say that I didn't use their proper name or pronouns, and that I lost that friend. And I now know how painful it is when people don't use your proper name or pronouns. And I'm so glad that I've learned that. And so as I remember on this day of remembrance, my story of being in the hospital for the 3rd time and praying and reading the scriptures and having God tell me to try transitioning because he gives mercy in keeping his commandments for comfort, and that he didn't want me to be miserable. And I made that decision to try it out for a year and see if this therapy was in fact helpful, like a lot of people say it can be. I know it's not the case for everyone. No treatment, no therapy, no surgery is a silver bullet. For me, it took a few months to start. Anytime anyone starts HRT, hormone replacement therapy for transition, it is an evaluative process, and it's not something that you can just make an impulsive decision to do. You have to redo a lot of evaluations and see that, one, is the mental health serious enough to warrant this drastic of a treatment, and a lot of other factors that go into it. And as soon as I started HRT, I felt this weight lift off my brain. That is the biggest change I felt. I no longer had thoughts to end my own life 3, 4, 5 times a day. It decreased to once a week without me doing anything. And I felt cheated. I had been doing therapy 30 hours a week. I've been doing all these things. And to just kind of like go on this HRT, hormone replacement therapy, to go on estrogen and just to have it go, it was ridiculous. I felt like I put in so much work, and now this is how this works. I just needed to do this the whole time. And so immediately I saw that it was helpful. Immediately. And then also dressing the way I want to, looking in the mirror and seeing myself the way I want to, made such a big difference. and a difference that I wasn't expecting. For me, the biggest difference with being on hormones and living my life is now when I'm healthy, my body goes towards a direction that is attractive and beautiful and where I want it to be. Where in the past, being healthy wasn't much better than being sick because it meant having a body that was more masculine and it was more scary to me. And I didn't value my body very much because of that. And I don't think being trans, going on transitioning, I don't think it solves all your problems. I do think it gives you the ability to tackle them like a normal person. I now feel more able to feel love. I feel more able to love. I feel more able to even just put on clothes in the morning. And it's more worth it now. And as someone that has transitioned and kept my religion, I am so grateful that there are scriptures for trans people. That if you really search the scriptures and you pray and you look, there are scriptures for trans people, and that God is there for trans people too. That we are not some sort of godless creature. No one is. And I just want to say on this day of remembrance that anytime you have negative feelings towards a specific group of people, especially people that are that sort of person without a decision, if that makes sense, because I didn't decide to be transgender. I was born transgender, and I saw it inside myself growing up. And being anti-trans, which means anti-transition, I was terrified that this thing inside of me meant I was a godless creature somehow. But God doesn't make mistakes. He made me trans because it is a beautiful thing that He loves about me. So, as someone on the Day of Remembrance, be careful with who you hate because it will cost lives. And as this nation is crazy right now with discrimination and prejudice, I face so many strangers every day, in person and online, that have very mean things to say. I would challenge everyone to focus on kindness. Focus on things that make you feel loved and kind. If I were to focus on all the negativity in the world, there would be too much time. There's just too many mean people out there right now. And if I were to focus on that, I would be too scared to do anything. So my challenge on this day of remembrance, whether you're trans, LGBTQ, straight, white, I don't care. Whatever you are, you're human. And I want you to know that my challenge to you is to focus on the kindness. Focus on the kindness you feel from others and the kindness that you can give. I think the whole world would be pretty cool if we did that. So, did I clickbait you guys? I don't know. I don't feel super comfortable going into detail on things like an attempt because I know that can negatively affect people. I do know that I would really appreciate it if you subscribe. That would mean the whole freaking world to me. And only subscribe if you like videos about fantasy and writing. Otherwise, don't subscribe. You can like this video, but don't subscribe if that's the case. And if you've made it this far, I'm going to give you some bonus content. More context. I have been on hormones since February, so I think that's about 9-ish months now. And after a year on hormones, you can go on an additional set of hormones, and transition is a really long process. There's like certain milestones you have to hit before you're even eligible to do certain things. And so I just would share that I'm only 9 months in. I am a baby trans girl. I'm not like all these other beautiful trans girls that you see that have 2, 3, 4 years of experience on hormones that have transitioned. The big scary thing about transitioning, if you're curious, is that you go through puberty again. So I right now am pubescent and I am going through female puberty at 25. How ridiculous is that? It's crazy. I do get angsty sometimes with that, and that makes things hard. And I just want to say thank you for following. This is your girl, Luna Puna Kuna, Luna Campbell, Luna Rune. I like fantasy. I write books. I'm trying to figure out how to fit that into a YouTube channel and have it be fun to watch visually. So if you want to join me on that journey, please do. You know where the button's at. Have a good day. Bye.